Hi, welcome to SisterCodes, a podcast hosted by Ashley
and Kaylee. We're sisters who talk about their journey in tech.
We're excited to share our experiences working in technology
and get real with what it's really like being a minority in one of the fastest growing industries in the world.
Today, we're going to be talking about starting a new job because I started a new job 2 weeks ago now. Yeah.
That's right. For those of you who didn't know, Ashley not only found a job, accepted it, negotiated it, and she started working 2 weeks ago. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm working as a software engineer specifically in mobile development. So working with both iOS and Android. And yeah, I've been having a great time working so far. I got my first paycheck, which is very exciting. Yeah. Super exciting. But yeah, we kind of just wanted to talk about what it's like to start a new job, especially during the pandemic, I think is very different to how most people would start a job. So I am not going to an office right now. Everything is done virtually. So I am just getting set up through phone calls and through WebEx calls and things like that.
Yeah. And I actually switched teams internally within my company, I think 7 months ago now.
Which is like starting a new job. So Kaylee basically started a new job too during the pandemic.
Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, so ever since I switched teams, it was a big adjustment period. I was super stressed, I remember. So what has your first 2 weeks been like? Why don't you share with everybody? And then we can kind of talk about some tips for anybody else who's going to be starting a new job in the new year or who's thinking of starting a new job or internship or anything else.
So my first 2 weeks have actually been really great because I've had time to do some learning. So there are some courses that I've been taking on like iOS development, Android development, some testing and things like that, which I think are really great because it gives me the time before I meet my team. So I haven't really met my team yet, but I'm super excited to do so. And Kaylee told me one of her top tips was that you should set up meetings, one-on-one meetings with everyone on the team before the week is up. So yeah, I'm definitely going to do that once I meet my team. But yeah, so I've just been doing these courses, which is really fun. Feels like I'm getting paid to learn, which is super cool because the past 4 years I was paying to learn and now I'm getting paid to learn. So
Totally.
Yeah.
I know when I started on my team, that was one of I think it's the team element that was really nerve-wracking for me because I feel like most other things in a technology job actually carry over really well into the virtual world because, I mean, to be fair, to a certain extent, we were all just sitting at our computers and coding throughout the day. But what really made the office experience stand out was those moments of getting to interact with your team. Like you really felt like you had a team that you related to and people that you wanted to work with, and you know, people would tell jokes and ask how your weekend was, and all of that gets lost. So I know I was really stressed about that. I will say I think it takes a lot longer to develop that sense of a team when you're in the virtual environment because your interactions are so limited to scheduled meetings. There's no time to just like be together as a team because that doesn't really exist in the virtual world. Everything is very planned and your interactions are very planned. So even if you have a 30-minute catch-up, it's very like scheduled. It's not like they're just the water cooler talk they talk about. There's no casual interactions with people. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to set time up with everybody on your team to start getting to know them outside of just what their job function is as quickly as possible. I think that's super, super important. And it'll make you feel more connected to them.
Agreed. Yeah. I have heard from a lot of people that it is difficult to bond kind of with each other because you just see them for like a couple minutes on Zoom and there is nothing like, oh, how's your weekend? Because it's like everyone just gets in the Zoom call and then you need to start talking about whatever you're talking about. So, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, have you had any sort of formal conversation with your manager about setting up expectations for success now that you've officially started your job?
Not yet. I think that will come a little bit later because I am in the intro part of just, doing all the learnings and things like that. But I do have an end of year review that I have to fill out for myself. And it's a little bit interesting because I'm definitely going to ask my manager about that. But it's interesting because I haven't really worked for that long. So I feel like in my end of year review, I'll probably just talk about like some preliminary stuff that I'm doing, but I haven't, really started yet. So
yeah, that's definitely one of the things. I know you've just started. That's advice I give to a lot of people when they start a new job. It's just to have a conversation with your manager. And it doesn't need to be like this intense, scary, formal thing. It can just simply be when you're getting to know your manager, setting up a meeting and saying, hey, you know, I have a lot of ambitions for my career. Like, this is where I see myself in 5 years, and these are my aspirations. Whether it's like a promotion or a raise or whatever it is, put those cards on the table. Yeah. Tell him or her. Tell them what are your goals and how can you work together to make sure that you are aligning the work and your performance with those strategic goals.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, your manager is a really huge instrumental person that should be helping guide your career. And so it's very important that they're kept in the loop about those kinds of discussions about those things. And it can feel really intimidating when you haven't built up that relationship with them. But I think part of like being vulnerable and sharing it with this person is actually a great way to start building that relationship. So you say, hey, you know, these are some things I'm working towards, right? And the great part too about your manager is that they could also have career goals, and you could actually help them achieve those goals as well. Because one of the things they'll tell you is that your job, especially as a more junior employee, is to make your manager look good. Because if you make your manager look good, that's going to get noticed, and they're really going to advocate for you to continue advancing your career. So I think that's like a really important thing to do. And honestly, more broadly, since we're coming into the end of the year, like you said, with end of the year reviews, it's so important to be thinking about having those conversations regardless of starting a new job. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think it's really, I saw some Instagram post or something that was saying you need to be talking about what your plans are, like what your goals are and your ambitions, because if you say it out loud to other people, then they know. If you're just internalizing it and you're thinking, oh, I want to, I don't know, like get a promotion by the end of the year, but you don't tell anyone, then nobody will ever know that's what you're striving for. Versus if you say it and you talk to people and you're like, oh, by the end of the year, I want to get a promotion because I worked hard on this, this, and this. Then when promotions do come up, they'll remember you and they'll think of you for it because you've been talking about it and manifesting it.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Definitely be open about what you're working towards, so that I also think it's good so that at the end of the year, if you don't end up achieving what it is you want, you don't hit those targets, you can have a much more candid discussion about, look, I made it very clear that this is something that I wanted, instead of it being a conversation of, oh, well, we didn't realize that was something
what you wanted.
So I think it's important because it'll do two things. Like, number one, you can then figure out if it's that they don't value you, and you can ask yourself that question if the time comes and you don't end up achieving what it is that you want. Or you can also figure out some ways to maybe improve your performance if it ends up being a case where maybe you didn't do something as well that they wanted. And I think either way, having those expectations super clear up front is the best way to not have that, oh, well, we didn't realize you wanted a promotion, which is crazy because like, who doesn't want a promotion? But
everybody wants a promotion, especially during like COVID times when people are working double, the time that they normally would, working overtime and all this stuff. Yeah,
totally. So what have you found the most challenging about starting your new job, especially given that at least I worked at my company before I switched teams, so it was easier for me because I already knew how to use, like, how to log in the mornings and how to use my email. But what have you found the most challenging about starting a new job virtually?
Yeah, I would probably say it is difficult, again, to, connect with people virtually, but I think that, like, my manager has done a really good job, and I felt like I'm very connected, and I can ask questions and all this stuff, which is great. I will say technology setup, just in and of itself, is always going to be a little bit difficult, trying to get, like, a computer over to you, and then being able to log in and all that stuff, just some technical things, little wrinkles that will get, dealt with, but, yeah, I don't know. It does feel a little strange because I will wake up and I'll like go have breakfast, but then I'll just come right back up to my room because my office is in my room, the same as Kaylee. And then it'll just start working. Like, you'll turn on your computer and you'll just start working. So it's a little bit difficult mentally to make that switch.
Yeah.
And say like, oh, I'm working now. I will also say it's very difficult to not get distracted because what I've started doing is I'll write down like a list of all the things that are in my brain, like while I'm working or even before I'm working, and I'll think of, oh, today I need to do this, this, and this, but I'll just write them all down. These are non-work related tasks that I'll write down so that when I'm working, I don't have to worry about it. It's not in the back of my mind. I'm not thinking, oh, I need to do laundry or I need to like unload the dishwasher or something like that. So yeah. Yeah.
Totally get that. That's why I actually shifted my routine 2 hours earlier. So
yeah, you do.
I wake up at 6 a.m.
Crazy early. It's so early. I can't believe you wake up at 6, honestly.
I love it.
But the sun, okay, so the
it.
sunrise is like 6:30 here, right? Or
It's
6?
a little later now. It's almost 7.
Oh.
It's almost 7 now because we're almost December.
Yeah.
But I was waking up earlier. So when daylight savings changed, obviously your internal clock is still set to the same time. So I used to wake up at 7, and I thought, oh, I'll just wake up at 6 because it's the same time. Like, my body doesn't know the difference, right? Only the clock has changed. And I've kind of tried to keep that up. I personally love it because it means that you get 2 full hours to yourself in the morning before you start work. And to me, it starts to just feel like I actually have some of my own time in the mornings, and that my whole day is not just working. Because for me, I don't know why, but I think it's a little harder to unplug in the evening hours after work. I find that more difficult. So I like doing things in the morning. It's like 2 hours. I get to drink my coffee. Most people are still asleep.
I'm definitely still asleep at 6 a.m.
Most people are still asleep.
Yeah.
It's like 2 hours that I can have to just like sit and relax and do, write my blog posts and do all those things for myself. And then it feels like I'm starting the day doing things for me, whether it's a yoga flow, whatever it is. And I really prefer that, but I totally hear you. It's really difficult to have that separation and to tell yourself too, because the difference between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is really difficult. So you're like, today is work. Here's my work routine, logging in at 8 a.m., like going through everything. So it's really important to come up with what works for you when you're starting your job, to make sure that you have that separation.
I think that is super important. And also because the sun sets at like 5 p.m. here. If you're it's more like 4:30.
It's like 4 now.
Okay, it's like 4:30. But so that means once you get off work, if you do work like a standard 9 to 5, then it's going to be dark by the time that you get off work. And honestly, when it's dark, you don't feel like working out, you don't feel like doing anything. True. You feel like sitting on the couch. So it is nice to have those hours in the morning where you have the time for yourself and the sun is up and it feels bright and everything is nice and fresh. But I found it really important to have a routine to stick to. So on the weekends especially, I try not to be on my phone too much. But I mean, the thing is, we both do Instagram and we both have our own blogs, and I have my own Etsy shop, so it's not possible to always be unplugged on the weekend. And sometimes that's when you have to be creating content and then scheduling it for the weekdays. And then on your lunch break, you're going to be posting, your photos for Instagram and stuff like that. So it's not always possible to be completely unplugged on the weekends, but I do think it's important to take some time and step away from a screen, because you're staring at a screen for like 8 hours a day. So
yeah. Totally. How have things changed now that you're balancing your business on the side with working full time?
Yeah, well, it's not too bad because I use a drop shipping company, so they do like the shipping for me, which is great. But yeah, I don't know, you just have to do it. You just have to, like, on your lunch break, sometimes you'll have to like check some orders and make sure everything is good. But I haven't found it too difficult. I think it's great to have. So I take like either 30-minute or an hour lunch break. It depends. It's usually 30 minutes. And yeah, you just have to make sure that you prioritize what you want to get done. So obviously you're starting a new job, so there's a lot of work that goes into that. But you also need to remember, like, what do I enjoy outside of my work? What do I want to strive for? What things do I want to work on for myself?
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that was most challenging for me when I first started, because you feel like you have to always be working, which isn't true.
Yeah.
But it's also like you don't get a ton of time outside of work. I mean, you've gone from basically being a student your whole life and setting your own schedule to having like a very regimented 40 to 50 hour work week.
Yeah.
And that time outside of work is really precious. And the thing is, you're going to be exhausted because you've been working all day. So it's really key, like you said, to find those things that give you passion, that excite you, that you can look forward to doing after work. So hobbies are really important, whatever it ends up being. And it takes a while, I think, to find that balance, because when you're in school, you can just go for these sprint periods where you're like, all right, it's finals, I gotta put my head down, I just gotta work all day and all night until finals are over, and then I'm gonna have Christmas break and I can relax. But now it's not like that. It's like It's a marathon, right? You get 15 days a year maybe to take vacation, not including weekends, and that's not that many. So when you put it all together, you need to be thinking about how to balance so that you don't burn out, because if you burn out while you're working, it's a lot harder than when you're a student, I think personally, to kind of like course correct.
Yeah.
So it's easier to try and keep things balanced in the first place, rather than letting things get so bad that you have to be, take really drastic measures to kind of get your physical, mental health back to where it was.
Yeah, I agree. But I will also say that after 4 years of school, I kind of enjoy this schedule because, yeah, especially when you're job searching, you are all hours of the day on. Like, you are checking for new jobs that come up. You're checking for your email for updates about like steps in the process. I remember one night, it was like 10:30 at night, and it was around Grace Hopper time, and Apple had sent out this email where you could like sign up and then send your resume or whatever, and it was like the first, I don't know, like 100 people. So it was like 11:30 at night. Did I say 10:30? I don't know. It was like 11:30 at night, and I logged into my computer. I was like about to fall asleep, but then I had to like log into my computer, like submit my resume, email all these people, and it's just so exhausting. So I feel like it is kind of, it's nice now to have just one like amount of time, one block of time that you're going to be working for, but then outside of that you can relax. And on the weekends I don't feel guilty about relaxing because I'm like, I've done my work and I'm getting paid for it, and so I can just relax guilt-free and do what I want to do.
Totally. I think that's the one big benefit, is that there's not that, when you're a student, there's always something you could be doing
all the time. You could be pushing for like 100, you know what I mean, even if you've already got like a 93 or something like that.
Yeah. And when you work, there is definitely there's more of that, okay, you're off the clock now, you know, the week is over, you get to go and relax. And that's definitely true. I think that's a huge part of the shift from being a student to then working full time. And it is nice, but it also comes with other things.
Of course,
like waking up at the same time every single day because you have to work not the hours that are set by you or what works best for you, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the big adjustments to make.
I also kind of want to talk about things that have made the transition a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So I got a standing desk from FlexiSpot, and I love it so much. It's so great. I can't stand the whole day like Kaylee does, but
I do stand the whole day.
Like the entire day. I don't understand it. But yeah, I really enjoy like being able to switch from sitting and standing, and I don't know, it's just really good for like your core. It's good for you to be able to move and not feel like you're sitting in a chair the entire day and then your back hurts and all this stuff. So yeah, I found that super helpful. And I've also found it really helpful to have a second computer. So I have my big monitor and then I have my computer, and when they're side by side, it's like I have a dual monitor system set up. So I really like that. And I'm buying a laptop stand so I can stand it up a little bit so it looks more like a monitor. So
nice. Yeah, no, the setup is critical, because where you used to spend however many hours a day in the office, you're now spending at your workstation. So I think it's very important to invest and make sure that you have not just a good workstation, but like the ergonomics. Yeah. You make sure that you're like positioned, like your monitor height should be roughly at eye level so that you don't have to like strain your neck like down or up to look at your screen. Like that's really important. And also making sure that there's like a 90-degree bend in your elbow, whether you're sitting or standing. That's actually how you know. Yeah, that's how you know that your desk is at the right height. There should be a 90-degree bend in your elbow. Oh. It's so that it doesn't strain like your wrists when you're typing or using the mouse. There's a lot of science that goes into that, because if not, you can get things like carpal tunnel. If you're at like if your wrists are like this, or you know, if it's like really at a weird angle, it's not good for you. So in addition to whether it's like a standing or a sitting desk, because that's personal preference, it's really important to make sure like the ergonomics of your setup are really well done. Yeah. And yeah, I personally love standing. I think it's great because I constantly am moving, because it's really hard to stand in one spot for too long. Bit, yeah. So I'm constantly kind of shifting my weight around. And then when I've been working for a really long time, it's like the best signal to me that I've been working for too long and I need to go take a break, because I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, I feel exhausted. Like I've been standing for, it's 3 hours. I need to go sit. I need to go get some water or whatever it is I need to do. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's huge.
Honestly, it's like an hour for me right now. Like an hour I'll be standing, because I'm not used to it. I'm used to just sitting the entire day. And that's what I did when I was in uni as well. I mean, I just had like a normal desk and a little chair. So yeah, it's definitely something to get used to, but I think it's great. And at the end of the day, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I've sat in my chair for 8 hours and I haven't moved. Yeah. You feel like, oh, I've been moving, even if it's just like shifting around in my desk area. So yeah, I think that's super helpful. And what else? Speakers are crucial. I think I love listening to music when I'm coding, programming. So a good speaker is really great. Kaylee and I both have the Google Home Mini. Kaylee actually got me one for, what was it? Was it my birthday? Like last year or something? Yeah. So yeah, I have a little Google Home Mini, so you can say like, okay, Google, it's gonna, oh, I thought it was gonna, oh, it is. It's listening. But yeah, you can play different music and stuff like that. So yeah, super helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with you on all those points. Awesome. So any last minute tips that you have for anyone who's about to start a new job? Because I know you were really anxious before you started. So is there anything that you did to help prepare that you think others would find helpful?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Kaylee told me to just relax because, which is, you know, they're like, oh, don't worry, just relax. But it is actually really good advice because you're going to be working now until, you know, whenever you decide to retire or, you know. So make sure that you are just enjoying the time that you have before you do start working. Also, make sure that you are organized and like ready for your first day. So have a planner. I have a planner and it's really helpful for any deadlines or things like that I need to put in there. So yeah, have a planner. Yeah, make sure that you have some hobbies as well that you are excited about, or even like start a new hobby when you're starting a new job. If you don't have any hobbies, like that's totally fine. Just start something like try knitting or like reading some books or something like that. I feel like it's really, really important to have things to do outside of work.
Yeah, that's great advice. Definitely have a planner. A notebook I think is great. Even though we're at home,
an extra notebook.
You can take notes on your computer, but I know for me, like organizing your notes digitally is actually really difficult because you can forget where you saved something or was it in an email or whatnot. So if you have it written down, you can actually physically flip through pages faster than you can go try and find something that you saved somewhere on your computer. So I think having a physical notebook is great, especially because in those first few days, you're going to be writing down tons of different things. Like, just take notes on everything. Every conversation, every acronym you don't know, write it all down. You can always go back and try and, you know, piece together what it is that you don't know from there. But if you don't write it down, I am the worst. People will say like, oh, remember this. And I'll be like, okay. And if I don't write it down, literally the second I leave that meeting, I'm going to think, oh gosh, they told me to remember something and I don't even know what it is. So it's just best to write things down as you go. So it takes the stress off of you for having to remember it.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Make sure to go on Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review if you think it's good.
And as always, you can contact us on Instagram at SisterCodes. And thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate it.